Morning everybody. Liquid sunshine today, aka otherwise known as rain, but it's still warm enough. How is everybody today? Hopefully good, raring to go. It's Friday. I don't know why people say that. It's Friday, yeah, weekend. We'll all plan for the weekend on that, but hey ho. Okay, so I'm going to talk about today. There are always higher returns. What do I mean by that? Well, I reflect back on this property that I bought. Morning, Andrea. And the lessons I've learned from it. And I think one of the most important lessons I've learned is there is always higher returns. And I think I took an emotional decision more than a factual, structural approach to it. When in actual fact I could have made a higher return. And let me explain. So this property itself was 100,000 to buy. This was round probably about 16 years ago, I think it was. 100,000 to buy. It was 3-bedroom semi-detached, rented for $550 a month. The mortgage I got was the Dunfermline Building Society lifetime tracker, base plus 0.75. That's mental, eh? Anyway, so it was fantastic, and it was a decent return. So I got complacent a bit, and I never did my due diligence. And I think in hindsight, I did take an emotional decision because it was a bigger property, and I felt like I wanted that in my portfolio. So that was what I took at the time. When in actual fact, I could have bought two smaller properties, or two properties at 50,000 easily, 2-bedroom flats, and I would have made a higher return. So let me explain to you. So the bigger property was 465 cash flow, or 456 cash flow every month after the mortgage is paid. Morning, Anne-Marie. It was a 14%, it was a 22% gross return. That's the return on the money invested after the mortgage is paid, and a 14% net return. That was assuming 30% overheads of the top line rent. And yet if I'd had two properties at 50,000, I could have made over £700 cash flow every month after the mortgage is paid, a 34% gross return, and a 22% net return. Yeah, in hindsight. And the reality was as well is when I sold this property last year, because I did sell it, I only made a 35% return on capital on it. I got 135,000 for it. When in actual fact, when the track record I spoke before, that I was getting regularly 3 times the value of the property I originally bought. And I think that possibly could have been achievable if I'd done it like that. So maybe a lesson learned there. Dunfermline Building Society, yeah, this takes me back. Hi Louise. Dunfermline Building Society. I sat in the Fife Council's housing partnership in the 2000s for 10 years. Now, to let you understand, I was representing the private landlords because I was the chief executive or chairman of the National Landlord Association for Scotland. And I represented private landlords in Fife. Maybe you private landlords didn't know that, but I did. There was somebody representing you at top level. And the Strategic Housing Partnership was to discuss and ratify strategic housing policy in Fife in general. So I sat on the board with heads of Fife Council, head of housing, the head of the police service, the head of social work, the head of other bodies, like the head of the housing associations. They had one person to represent all them. We had the landlords. Peter Erskine, Cambo Estate, was the Rural Property Owners Business Association, so he represented the farmers who had private property, rented properties. So we all sat and discussed strategic housing policy and ratified it for the Fife region itself. Dunfermline Building Society, yeah, I'll take it back. So the other person on the board was, I think it was the chief executive of Dunfermline Building Society, and we sat around the table, and I do remember the day. Literally, and I saw it right in front of me, happen before my eyes, the run on the banks. It was 2007. I remember he answered his phone right in front of me, and his face went white. No kidding. It was something to behold, I'll tell you. I never thought I would see that happening. And this was at the time of the crash. Hi, Nigel. And he just turned white. And he hung up his phone and he just turned round to everybody and says, I've got to leave. There's a run on the bank, or the Building Society. And that was the end of Dunfermline Building Society. No more. Nationwide took it over, eventually. Hi Sam. And that was a defining moment. I realised that, nothing can stop the wheels of change. There is factors outside of what you do that will influence what you're doing, and you can't have any control of it. So all you need to do is minimise the downside and make sure you look at these issues if they could happen. It's sensitivity analysis, risk analysis. I do it all the time. I've got spreadsheets and you plug in the numbers. If the rent went down dramatically, how would that affect your cash flow? If the interest rates went up dramatically, how would that affect your cash flow? If your occupancy rate came right down as a result, how would that affect your cash flow? So sensitivity analysis, risk analysis is something that I do all the time just to make sure everything is planned and prepared before I actually go into something. So I know it's just a journey to get the end result I'm after anyway. So as I said before, I'm pretty risk adverse. Now I look at it in hindsight and always minimise the downside with the lessons I've learned from industry, where I've been working in manufacturing as a financial controller, financial director. And that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be day 27. I'll have some more exciting stuff for you. Maybe not as exciting as what happened in the run on the banks. But I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.